Mr. Secretary of Power, Mr. Olivier Grabet, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's a pleasure for me to inaugurate with you this Indo-French webinar on secure and efficient advanced metering infrastructure. It's a webinar which is co-organized by Think Smart Grid, the Indian Smart Grid Forum, and the Embassy of France, and I really want to warmly thank the organizer for this great initiative. This is really a critical topic. I mean, building infrastructure, secure, efficient, resilient, is really key. It has many benefits for the environment, but also for the economic growth, and also to empower our citizens. Smarter grids are key to facilitating the production of low-carbon electricity, in particular intermittent and decentralized renewable energy, and its consumption for both existing and new uses, such as electric mobility. They foster energy efficiency by minimizing the losses in transmission and distribution. They also empower citizens by helping them monitor their energy consumption and their budget. They help them to become, I would say, prosumer, both consumer and producer of electricity. However, smarter grids also make them more vulnerable to cyber attacks, and robust solutions must be developed and implemented to limit the risks and react quickly and efficiently in case of an attack. Both India and France have launched ambitious smart grid programs. India has set a target of deploying 250 million smart meters all over the country in the next few years through the National Smart Grid Mission. This is very impressive and probably one of the biggest such programs in the world. France has also been very active in the past years with a Linky program that aims at replacing France's 35 million conventional meters by smart meters. This 5 billion euro, nearly 45,000 crore rupees program will be completed by the end of 2021. And I believe that Mrs. Ruffenach from the French DG for Energy and Climate will give us more details about this program and the French public policies in a few minutes. Both of our countries have a long and successful and trustful cooperation, and they have been strategic partners for more than 2 decades. This, of course, also applies to the field of low-carbon energy and power, with, for instance, the project of building 6 nuclear reactors in Jaitapur, Maharashtra, or with the excellent Indo-French cooperation on renewable energy. I'm pleased to say that French companies are contributing to around 10% of the installed solar capacity in India. Of course, the Indo-French cooperation of smart grids is also very active and growing. One such example is the project financed by the French government to study loss reduction, renewable energy integration, and the use of a grid control system for the Madhya Pradesh Power Management Company that was completed in 2019. Another such cooperation should start very soon between the Solar Energy Corporation of India, Bolloré Blue Storage, and the French Alternative Energy Commission. This pilot project will use photovoltaic panel coupled with batteries to optimally charge electric vehicle while contributing to the stability of the electrical grid. And furthermore, the French Development Agency, AFD, is very active and has already invested nearly 800 million euros in energy projects in India. French private smart grid players are also very committed to supporting the development of smart grids in India. To cite only a few of them, French public utility EDF International Network started a flagship project with Energy Efficiency Services Limited in 2018, aiming to roll out 5 million smart meters. The first milestone of a contract, the successful installation of 100,000 Smart Meter was completed on December 2020. All the major French companies are also present along smart metering value chain, implementing solutions for mass deployment, cybersecurity, and digitalization of the process. We will have the opportunity, I hope, and I am sure we will have, to hear more about this expertise during the upcoming panel sessions. I'm sure that today's discussion also will be very engaging, and I hope they will lead to concrete collaboration. And now I will leave the floor to Mr. Alok Kumar, Secretary of the Ministry of Power, which is a very good player, and we have wonderful cooperation with the ministry. I leave him the floor for his address. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So let's now please welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Alok Kumar, Secretary of the Ministry of Power of India. Mr. Kumar, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Yeah, so first of all, I convey my greetings to His Excellency, Mr. Emmanuel Lena, the Ambassador of France in India, and all dear delegates. I am delighted to speak in the inauguration of this very useful workshop on smart grid technologies and cyber security solutions. This workshop is very timely for us, as you may be aware that India has launched a very ambitious mission under the new scheme which our cabinet has approved very recently. It's a scheme with an outlay of more than 3 lakh crore rupees for bringing the wide-ranging distribution reforms in India, and smart metering is one of the largest and most important component of this scheme. As His Excellency was speaking, we are proud of the cooperation between India and France in several areas, energy being one of the prominent areas for cooperation, and we have a long history of partnership and it's going strong. And as he was mentioning the smart metering project in Bihar, we are very proud of it and it has shown very encouraging results. To put it simply, India is marching ahead on its nationally determined contributions in the Paris Agreement for taking forward energy transition. We believe energy transition is dependent on inviting a lot of private sector investment in new technologies, in renewable energy, and it is also dependent on the viability of our distribution companies, because most of the investment has to come from private sector. So viability of the customer is very, very important. That's why the smart metering has been placed as the key and central intervention in the new scheme, which His Excellency was also speaking. We have a mission of installing 250 million smart meters in India in next 5 years. So we are a strong believer that the smart metering and along with the complete system metering with AMI will be a game changer, not only for improving the viability of our distribution companies, but also for making India grid future ready in terms of reaping the benefits of time of day tariffs as well as demand side response. We also believe very strongly that smart metering will also lead to consumer delight in terms of better consumer services, better reliability power supply, more transparency, and also affordability for the small consumers. Now they can recharge the prepaid smart meter connection according to their income as it comes on day-to-day basis or weekly basis. One of the very important feature of our smart metering mission is the PPP mode for implementation. We started this journey of a smart grid in 2015 with establishing of National Smart Grid Mission. In the last 6 years, several pilot projects have been taken up and they have led to accumulation of very important knowledge. stakeholder involvement, and a lot of important learnings, which makes us confident that we'll be able to roll out this smart metering ambitious program successfully. Now, here is the role of French companies and all other investors whom we are inviting, and we are looking forward very keenly their participation in our smart metering program. The smart metering program which India has conceptualized will be on the OPEX mode, some upfront capital support, grant support, but most of the investment will be serviced by the savings which distribution utilities will be making by application of smart metering. We were talking of Bihar only a few minutes ago. We are very delighted to share with you that in Bihar, the revenue of the distribution company per consumer per meter in the smart area has increased by rupees 500 per month. It is far more than what will go to service the investment for a smart metering. So we encourage all the private investors, including from France, to come and take part in this great transformation of India's power sector. Along with the smart metering, it will also create a lot of jobs, a lot of new investment, a lot of growth, economic growth, not only in the smart metering business, but in the whole economy, as our distribution companies become viable and they are able to provide better and more reliable service. We are fully conscious of the implications of cybersecurity and data privacy. As we digitalize our distribution business and we deepen the penetration of smart metering in India's power grid, we are very conscious that it will pose new challenges in terms of cybersecurity. So Ministry of Power is working in parallel to build an ecosystem and to build capacity in the staff of utilities and all concerned to take care of cybersecurity concerns, to address those concerns simultaneously, so that India's grid is not only modern and future ready, but also safe and secure. So this workshop is very timely, and I'm very hopeful that the deliberations by experts in this workshop will lead to more clarity, more actionable recommendations, which we will, I'm sure, will assimilate in our rollout while we implement a smart metering. I once again convey my best wishes to this workshop, and we look forward to its recommendations. And I once again congratulate the Think Smart Grid, the moving force behind this workshop, and also the Embassy of France in India for organizing this workshop. Once again, I convey my best wishes. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary, for this very valuable inauguration address. Let's now move to the next section of the webinar and a presentation of a further presentation of the Indian context and of also the French context and expertise. So for this part, please welcome Mrs. Coralie Ruffenach, Head of Power System, Programming and Networks Office at the French Directorate General for Energy and Climate, and Mr. Anil Hawal, the Managing Director of IntelliSmart. Mrs. Ruffenach, please go ahead.
Thank you, Thomas. So I will give you a quick overview of the Linke program in France. As Thomas said, I work at the General Directorate for Energy and Climate in France, and I'm in charge of electricity networks and system planning. Next slide, please. I don't know if I can do it myself. No. Thank you. So Linky is the smart meter, the French smart meter designed to equip all households and small businesses in France. The deployment of intelligent metering system was introduced by a European directive in 2009. And Enedis, which is the major DSO in France, started the rollout of Linky, so of the French smart meter, at the end of 2015. Today, we have 32.5 million Linky installed. And the objective is to equip more than 90% of the households by the end of the year. So for a total of 35 smart meters, 35 million smart meters, sorry. So far, the rollout is on schedule and the expected budget is respected, which is a good thing. And by the end of 2024, the other French DSOs, so other than Enedis, will roll out the same smart meter on their respective networks to reach 100% equipment by 2024. Next slide, please. So here you have an overview of the data collection and management in France with Linky. First, with a comparison between France and Italy, Italy being a European country who rolled out a smart metering program as well. So the recording time frame of Linky can be up to 30 minutes. And we have a policy saying that the transmission of the data of the 30 minutes data to the DSO, to the third party, requires the explicit agreement from the consumer. So that's what we call opt-in. So we have the daily consumption data that is transmitted to the DSO every day, but only the energy, not the load profile. The load profile itself, with a 60-minute time frame, is recorded and saved in the smart meter and not transmitted without the consent of the consumer for 5 months maximum. Up to date, we have 3.4 million load profile that has been activated and collected and transmitted to the DSO, so with the explicit consent of the consumer, for 32.5 million smart meters, so a bit above 10%. And we have 9 million consumers that consult their consumption on the Enedis website. So suppliers try to encourage the collection and the transmission of the load profile, but we still have very few offers, and the number of collected load profiles highlights the fact that Linky is still suffering a little bit in France from mistrust and from a lack of awareness from the population, but we are working on this. Next slide, please. Yeah, so cybersecurity is a major challenge of the Linky program, of course, due to the number of data that is collected and manipulated. And cybersecurity is granted by the French National Agency for Information System Security, that's called ANSSI, who certify the whole security framework of the Linky system, so both the smart meter, of course, and the information systems. So this guarantees the robustness of the system during their manufacturing and then in the daily operating process. ANSSI is also conducted regular audits, so every year. And the data collection and transmission is fully encoded. So from the collection in the meter to the transmission to the DSO. And information are anonymized and cannot link to personal data, so name or address, for example. Next slide, please. And here we are going to review the first benefits of Linky. So the first one, of course, is possibility to have remote operation by the DSO, for example, the chain of power, data collection for billing, detection of minor problems, and also fraud detection that is more accurate than in the past. Also for the grid operation, Linky can be used to detect anomalies on the distribution network and also to reduce losses. And using Linky facilitate the identification of flexibility potentials and the optimization of existing grids. The personal data, so the load profile, the precise load profile, has a great potential for better knowledge and optimized use of energy. So for example, energy efficiency, self-consumption, electric vehicles, but it still has to be appropriated by the majority of the population. And now for the medium to long-term benefits of Linky. So many energy suppliers and startups are working on new offers or services linked to the load profile. So visualization, energy efficiency, smart equipments to control the consumption. And the government could adopt new regulation in the next months or years to encourage the availability of the load profile. Because as we saw before, we still have about 10% of the consumers who agreed to collect the load profile. Linky allows to better encourage consumption flexibility through dynamic tariffs. So the possibility to propose dynamic tariff was introduced at the beginning of the year in the French regulation, and we expect this to grow in the next few years. The government will also contribute to facilitate real-time and automated flexibility for a whole smart grid and a whole optimized system. But this is still a possibility. In case of serious security of supply issues, Linky could be used to temporarily restrict the maximum power for some consumers. But this is still. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Mrs. Rifnak. Let's now have the perspective of Mr. Anil Hawal, Managing Director of IntelliSmart.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, first of all, to the organizers for inviting me to this esteemed panel and the webinar. And thanks a lot to the French Embassy for giving me the opportunity. Hope I'm audible. Right. Thank you. So this project, which is running in Bihar, is about smart prepaid metering. And as Honorable Secretary also mentioned, that country is on mission mode to deploy the smart meters across the country. The aim is to have operational and financial efficiency. One of the flagship programs of this smart metering is in Bihar, which is being carried out along with EDF by EESL. EESL is Energy Efficiency Services Limited, which is a flagship energy efficiency company of the country. And they have undertaken this program with EDF in Bihar. It's about more than 2.3 million meters, and they are all in prepaid mode. And most interesting part of the program is not only that it's prepaid, it's a flagship prepaid program, the country's largest program, envisaged to be fully on prepaid, but also this program is on the build, own, operate, and transfer model, the OPEX model, which Honorable Secretary also mentioned. The model envisages that there is no investment upfront coming from the utilities. In view of their requirement that investment should come from outside, this model actually works according to that. The whole investment comes from the meter installation agency, which is EESL in this case, and any burden on the utility is only given when the meters are commissioned. So the meters are installed, commissioned, and they start making savings for the utility, which, as Honorable Secretary said, is very large, far more than any measurement compared to the service charges which agency or the investing agency charges per meter per month. So it automatically becomes self-feeding and self-perpetuating program. That's why this program was initially called as pay as you save. So the payment comes when utilities start saving, and this in better way called OPEX model, which so it becomes a flagship OPEX model of the country on the prepaid mode. This program is currently being executed by IntelliSmart. IntelliSmart is a special purpose company which operates towards digitalization of the distribution sector, mainly on smart metering. And IntelliSmart is a joint venture of NIIF. NIIF is National Investment Infra Fund, which is Government of India backed fund of Ministry of Finance, and EESL. So these two companies have come together as enablers to really to undertake this program of smart metering in very efficient manner. So IntelliSmart is hosting about 70-75 strong member team, who are mostly from the digital background, and they are focused towards smart metering mission of the country. So that's the way this program is going on. And another interesting part of the program is this is purely on GPRS communication. So GPRS, I would believe, is one of the most secure and cost-effective communication methodology available. And it actually is in not only the investment as well as life cycle cost is the minimum for the GPRS communication. So this is GPRS based prepaid BOT based program. So it itself by many means becomes the flagship program of the country. And interestingly, the program has already seen first phase completed, in which the aim was to establish the digital systems in place, have the stable IT infra, and the operation and maintenance being built up in a perfect manner. The first phase has already been completed successfully along with EDF. The teams have really been coming together very well, gelling together, and now is the second phase, which basically entails for large scale ramp up. So in first phase, we could complete 150,000 meters. And in this second phase, we need to reach 2.35 million. So it's quite a up steep journey, I would say. So we are required to be installing more than 100,000 meters per month. That's the kind of challenge. And I'm sure teams are gearing up very well after this tough patch of Corona. People suffered on the ground. There were issues, we understand, but then now teams are coming together. I was there with the teams on the ground, and we see they are coming together and they are gearing up in very good way to really take up this challenge. And I'm very sure that we'll be reaching the target in time, and we'll be ramping our systems in a big way. And it would be in itself one of the fastest program to achieve this much of number in next 1 year or so. So that's the whole program. And another interesting part of the program is that we have already completed the user acceptance testing. This becomes country's first program to have completely user acceptance testing done program. So users have already accepted the complete systems. So that way, it is clear that base is there, and we are ready to take off in Bihar. And that's already started. And we are going to see a very interesting journey, which will itself be a milestone in the country for smart metering mission. And that's all. And I won't forget to really thank the complete EDF team. The way they have come together and the way they are accepting this challenge is going to be really historic. And I really wish all the best for this webinar and the complete journey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your perspective on the Indian program and your kind words for the project and the teams involved. Let's move on precisely to a testimonial on this particular project, and we'll have the perspective of Mr. Sanjeev Hans, the Secretary of Energy of the Bihar, and also the CMD for the Bihar Discoms, North and South, and also Mr. Akshat Mishra of EDF International Networks India, who is the Indian PMO lead for this program. I believe Mr. Hans will start, and then Mr. Mishra. Right?
Yes.
But I'm not sure. As far as I'm concerned, I cannot hear Mr. Hans. Maybe until
I think he was here initially, and we saw him. Not him exactly, but then there was a picture which came initially. I think there's some technical issue due to which they might not be able to connect as of now.
So can I ask you maybe Akshat to start with the presentation, and then
Absolutely. I would first of all like to thank the Think Smart Grid Forum as well as Mr. Anand Raval to help us with the initial introduction and inviting us for this particular forum. If I start, I mean, we as in EDF are very proud to be associated with this particular project, wherein we have pioneered and introduced the India's first prepaid solution, AMI solution, which also takes care of postpaid functionalities. So this particular system has helped discoms in the state of Bihar to have an efficient and effective billing system while catering to a diverse category of consumers. This has also encouraged consumers to judiciously use power, as well as move towards and understand the power conservation. So in this regard, as it was mentioned earlier, that the DISCOM has seen a great increase in their overall revenues, while 500 rupees increment has been seen with the help of this particular system. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So I'll not take much time because we have already spoken a lot about the Linky project, but this has been one pioneer project for us in France, where we are implementing 35 million smart meters across France, and we will be closing this by end of 2021. And the rate has been quite impressive, wherein almost 30,000 meters are installed on a daily basis, and we can see the mass rollout, and we are trying to achieve similar figures here in India as well. However, some challenges we have faced due to pandemic, but of lately the ramp up speed has started to show up the results on field, and we are moving fast in field, and we hope to I'll say ramp up further with more meters on field, so that the DISCOMs can reap more benefit out of the program. Can we move on to the next slide, please? I would like to take a moment to showcase the overall offerings that EDF has for the distribution sector, specifically towards the innovation part, where the offerings related to smart metering, smart grid, renewable integration, planning, microgrid. This forms the overall crux of the way forward for India to move in a better and digitized way to have a better and efficient power system across the country. So can you move on to the next slide? Yes, thank you. So this is where we have tried to showcase our journey, which started way back in October 2018 with a mandate of installing 5 million smart meters on pan-India basis. Currently, we are focusing on Bihar with a mandate of 2.3 million smart meters. We have approximately installed 160,000 meters till now, and it has shown some good numbers already. EDF, with the help of this particular program, has been able to generate employment for almost 700 resources in India, including the internal as well as external agencies. Moving on to the next slide, please. So here we have tried to showcase the overall system architecture that takes care of the AMI solution, right from the workforce management, wherein the data from the DISCOM is received, is cleaned and uploaded for the field workers to install the meters on field. Then there are certain events which are captured from the meters to ensure that they are communicating. If in case there are some ambiguities, it is taken care by the field workers. And once the meters start communicating, there are certain benefits which the end consumer or the usage or the user of the electricity gets, wherein they are able to check their daily balance. They are getting accurate invoices on a regular basis. They get an update on the balance after recharge. So these are the benefits. One important aspect that I would want to introduce here is the arrear management, which has helped DISCOM to actually regenerate, I'd say, the return of bad debts. So with the help of this arrear management functionality, DISCOMs are able to get the revenue back from the consumers, which was sort of a bad debt or sort of written off from their accounts earlier. Moving on to the next slide, please. Some of the results, as I mentioned, 160,000 smart meters which have been installed. We are getting a good communication rate of 95% plus on a daily basis. The events, I would say, which helps us to maintain the meter health as well as do remote operations is almost 10 million. So you can imagine the kind of data that we are storing and we are getting from the meters across Bihar. And these events are then converted into the various parameters which help in analytics of the data, which further helps Discom to manage their demand side and I'll say plan for the future demands. We have been able to manage 100,000 plus monthly reconnects and disconnects. So this showcases how robust the system is, and the revenue that Discom, I'll say, with only 160,000 smart meters, 18 million plus revenue has already been generated, and this is a prepaid functionality, so the revenue comes upfront and helps Discom in managing their operations in a better and effective manner. Moving on to the next slide, please. These are some of the many benefits that come for Discom consumers, as well as the overall benefit for the society as well as environment, which are listed down here. So as we mentioned, the accurate billing, real-time information which is provided to the Discoms, increased revenues, as I mentioned, optimal use of the assets, net metering, which is an upcoming phenomena in the state of Bihar, wherein solar power is utilized and the consumer also gets money back if they are able to provide. I'm sorry, but okay, I'll take the question later. But yes, net metering is also helping consumers to earn some revenue by providing the electricity, the surplus electricity, to the grid. We have mentioned enhanced safety, and we also are following the MIghty guidelines and other guidelines as introduced by the government of India to make our system more secure and robust. So that was a brief from our end. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, the communication protocol is GPRS. So we are working with BSNL as of now, and we are tying up with other GPRS providers to have better availability of network and to achieve better network communication.
Thank you, Akshat. Are we able to reconnect with Mr. Hans, maybe for a few words?
So I have an input on this, Anil here. Actually, I got the message that he got dropped off and is finding it difficult to join back. If somebody can help him, he'll be joining.
One of the questions, sorry, are we taking the questions now or towards the end of the session?
Well, normally we would wait until a later section to take the Q&A, but maybe as we take a chance to have Mr. Hans back
Sure.
for a few words, maybe you can address that particular question. That one of them was about the sort of the biggest challenges as you see them in the rollouts so far.
Well, the biggest challenge was definitely the consumer awareness, which we mentioned, and we have seen the same in France also. So convincing the consumers that this is something good for them is the biggest challenge. But people are coming to terms, and word of mouth is helping them to understand the overall effectiveness and the benefits that they can reap from the project.
I suggest that maybe we move on, and hopefully we will be able to take a few words from Mr. Hans later on. So we will now move to the next section, which will allow us to get the perspective of 5 companies involved in smart metering. So we'll start with a block of 3 speakers, take again a Q&A session, and then move on to another 2 and a Q&A session. So let's now hear the feedback from Schneider Electric, Accenture, and Sajamcom. And we will start with Mr. Amit Kumar, Vice President and Business Unit Head for Metering and Protection System at Schneider Electric India. And you will explain how smart metering also contributes to the larger digitalization of the smart grids. Then Mr. Yogesh Dons, Senior Manager at Accenture, who will share examples of how utilities globally are leveraging AMI data to improve business operation and create new business models. And then Mr. Nabil Sari, Vice President of Business Development at Sajamcom, who will present the success factors for mass deployment of smart meters from a vendor's perspective. Amit, floor is yours.
Thanks, Thomas. Good afternoon to all of you who are here. And thanks to the organizer for this beautiful afternoon meeting. I go directly to my presentation because I think we are running out of time. So the next slide, please. So Schneider Electric, we are all familiar with Schneider Electric. They are the global specialist in energy management and are present in 100+ countries. And Schneider Electric has a history of almost 180 years of efficient and sustainable solutions. Schneider Electric gives across the world smart meters, and they have solutions from the head-end system to MGM. In India, there is a manufacturing base at Meso, where Schneider Electric manufactures the electrical meters. So the smart grid roadmap is, the implementation is there from directly to the utilities in the country, in India. I will more specifically in this presentation this afternoon go to the Indian context of the smart grid applications. So we are also one of the largest HES leveraging multi-telecom solutions. We give PLC, we give PLC, we give 4G, we can give NB-IoT, and a lot of other things. We also have been supporting point-to-point smart meters implementation, and we can give LT4M and NB-IoT. Next slide, please. This. So as I was mentioning, Schneider Electric is we are the from Meso we have an installed base of more than 69 million smart meters, and this is based out of Mysore in Karnataka state in the country. And we have here the full design team sitting, and end-to-end process execution is being done. You can see our factory small glimpse, and we can manufacture and have done more than 17. We have the capacity to manufacture 17 million smart meters per annum. And in one of the years, we have done almost more than 11 million meters also. Next slide, please. So as I was mentioning, this is what the smart meter actually is. We all talk of smart meters. So you can see all the smart meters at the bottom, which are getting connected through RF or through cellular to the head-end system. And the head-end system is connected to the meter data management system. So in Schneider Electric, we manufacture the meters, we have the head-end system. We are working on RF, and we can connect to cellular with the local, like in Bihar, we are trying to work with Jio. And we have also the NB-IoT solution, and if required from 4G to 4G fall back to 2G also. So for ESL, we have the HES provider in Bihar for 5 million smart meters we are supposed to do. We have already done around 1.6 million and 160,000. That is the correct number, I think, currently. And we are supposed to supply. We have a contract for supplying 1.6 million smart meters, which is 4G with a fallback to 2G communication. Recently, we did a project at MP Indore, and this was a turnkey project, and we did almost 12 lakh smart meters, and we have seen that there was a data availability consistency of at the rate of 99.5%, and it has helped the DISCOM to increase its revenue collection by almost more than 20%, and the project has an ROI of 2.5 years. We are currently also executing with Tata Power Mumbai, where we are doing a project for more than 40,000 consumers, and this will be implemented on 4G with a fallback to 2G. So if somebody is working with Schneider Electric, we have what is known as an eco-structure. This is an end-to-end data management system which we give. And you can see here at the lowest level where we are connected products, we have the smart meters and other connected products, which goes to the edge control, like we have the advanced metering infrastructure. And this is again connected into the MDM. So the HES, we have the meter, the MDM, of course, we work with somebody locally who are providing the meter data management system there. So we are working on a digital grid basically, and very successfully we have integrated the smart grid solution into a digital grid, and we are working more on it, and maybe in times to come we will have more of connected products with the smart meters here. Yes, next slide please. So as I was mentioning, and the theme of my talk today is shaping a digital future. So we give real-time data to facilitate a microgrid management system, and the smart meters help in multi-utility support, like most of the countries where the meter, the water and the gas, they are all connected. Maybe in times to come in our country, India also, we will see. And Schneider Electric can give that offer to the country. So we are integral part of the distributed energy resource management system, and we give a very high accuracy of data for the energy exchange. So when we are talking of digital future, so this helps, the smart meters helps to select the source of energy when it is an open access. Like even when a smart meter is installed in an apartment, and if you feel that you want to have the power from solar, or you want to have power from the DG, or you want to have power from the grid, the smart meters helps you in selecting that also. So we have a differential control of essential and non-essential loads, and that is what I was referring to, that it helps in the energy management, and you can, through a smart meter, decide how to control that. Then for the industry, we have an integrated industrial energy management system, and we can also give sensor data that can be communicated through the meter. Next slide, please. So let me also give some time on discussing the benefits of smart metering. The smart metering helps in automated and remote control data without a human intervention. And in a country like India, it is very important. Now, the government of India is talking of prepaid and postpaid, and the smart meters have both. It helps in asset management, and it helps in load management and peak savings. It helps in load control. It helps in theft, and a lot of consumer information can be provided through the smart meter or the mobile app from the MGM, which I think in Bihar we are also giving this. Now, this smart meter also is helping. It has, we have seen that in Indore and in Bihar also, that it helps in outage and incident management, like what can be the near real-time data. And of course, the country, when we are talking of gigawatt of solar power, the smart meter helps in renewable integration in the net metering configuration for energy recording. Next slide, please. One more slide is there. Okay, fine. If it is not there, I will just drop off. So So as I was mentioning to you that the smart meters projects across the country has helped, and it is opening up a big digital feature for the country. And in times to come, smart meters is going to be, as the minister was talking of, 250 million smart meters. They are actually going to help the DISCOM to save power, save electricity. Thank you. I think I have finished, Thomas, in my allocated time.
Thank you, and thanks a lot for keeping the 10 minutes. That was brilliant. So let's now move to Yogesh Dont of Accenture.
Thank you, Thomas. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let's move on to the next slide. So Accenture has been part of the smart metering implementation globally, number of implementations, and we have been working in the utility space for more than 30 years. Now, based on our experience, we generally look at the maturity of the AMI capability of a utility in 3 stages. So stage 1 is generally what we call as a meter to cash stage, or sort of a vanilla implementation phase where the utilities are focused on implementing the smart meters with an objective to obtain automated billing and remote connect and disconnect. Stage 2 is when utilities have got a good amount of historical data, and a good amount of implementation has happened. And we have seen utilities using this data to sort of improve the distribution business operations. A stage 3 or AMI phase 3 is what we call when a good percentage of the implementation is near complete. There is a market transformation either due to regulatory directions or due to external pressure. In this phase, we generally see utilities transform the industry and are able to launch different business models which help them generate additional revenue. Now, our experience is the regulatory guidance and sorry, can you stay on the same slide? Our experience is the regulatory guidance and incentives will play an important role in defining the pace of the smart metering journey. For example, if you look at North America, or which is USA, the different utilities operating in different states are in different states of maturity. So if you look at Duke, Edison, or something like a PG&E, which is a AMI 3.0, whereas something like a Dominion or a DT is between AMI 1 or AMI 2. The other thing is, once you have the smart meter data, I will give you some examples of what utilities can do in AMI stage 2.0. Now, first thing they can do is generate customer insights. Now, example is AGL, which is an Australian utility, has created a web page and a mobile app for the customers to log in and look at their usages. They can compare the usage with their neighbors and also the peer set, take insights of how to reduce cost, and also do self-service. This way, AGL is able to keep the customer satisfaction high and also reduce the cost of service. We have also seen utilities use the incident or insights from smart meter, something like a high bill, disconnection, voltage quality or the quality of power, and feed it to the contact center. So the custom agents are aware what could be the query when the customer dials in. We also call it as the next best action. PG&E uses the smart meter data for the demand response. Effectively, it identifies customers which uses air conditioning during peak hours, runs a dedicated demand response program to help them reduce the consumption during peak. If you look at the grid and asset optimization, utilities can monitor the stress level in the infrastructure and thereby improve the life of the cables, the transformers. Theft detection is potentially a very high potential area. We are working with number of utilities where we use metered information like temper events, meter inversion, meter losing connectivity intermittently, isolated unexplained outages to identify theft potential. The accuracy rate is as high as 85%. Utilities have saved significant amount of money in recovery, that is by improved truck rollouts and also recovery of the money. Outage and fault intelligence is fairly common where you use smart meters to pinpoint the location of fault. But we have seen utilities, something like a center point, which uses this data to provide information to the customer about an outage, keep them informed about the restoration time, and thereby improve reduce the anxiety of the customer, but also helps reduce the significant inflow of calls to the contact center, thereby reducing the cost. Moving on to the next slide. Now, AMI 3.0 is more advanced where a lot of smart meters are deployed, regulatory changes have happened. In India, there are utilities in Gujarat, in Delhi. We have already started doing peer-to-peer trading, net metering. But I will touch base on the bottom part, which is the data monetization. What we have seen is a lot of utilities are coming up with very innovative models to monetize the AMI data. In addition to National Grid PPL, AGL is actually tied up with Flybys, which is a retailer loyalty program. It rewards its customer on timely payment of bill, but it also uses the royalty program to incentivize them if they move to auto debit, or if they move from a physical bill to an electronic bill, thereby reducing the cost to serve. NL Endesa, which is a Spain-based utilities, has used the smart meter data and other customer data to segment the customers, identify high profitable customer, and then go and do upsell and cross-sell to those customers. PG&E, Consolidated Edison, Simple Energy have launched a dedicated market space where they sell energy efficient products and services, thereby increasing their revenue. We are currently working with a utility in North America where we are looking at the smart meter data to identify potential customers who have high probability to buy an electric vehicle. The business model is, if a vehicle company is able to sell a electric vehicle to a utility customer using a utility channel, utility gets a commission. We have seen a utility who studies the smart meter data to identify which of their customers have bought electric vehicle, and then thereby giving them bundled specialized services, thereby generating additional source of revenue. We'll quickly move to the next slide, which sort of gives a futuristic view of what we think a utility will look like. Utility will move way further than just being an energy provider, but will play a more integrated role in the market. It will facilitate being a marketplace, bringing different suppliers closer to the customers. It will take an important role in settlement. But the most important part, and few of the speakers did touch upon, is utility will be the enabler to a faster movement toward net zero. And this is where AMI data will play a very integral role. Quickly moving to the last slide. So based on our experience, there are multiple factors that will influence a successful smart meter rollout, but there are few which I think will be relevant for the Indian context. Akshat earlier mentioned about customer participation, and that's going to be very, very critical, because most of the benefit that will come out of smart meter will happen if the customer embraces the smart meter, moves to the to renewable energy and electric vehicle and so on and so forth. Also, a buy-in from the customer will help us a faster rollout of the smart meters. Skills and capability, very, very important. Our discoms currently have fantastic skills in electric technology, but they would need telecom and IT skills, and also at scale. This is where we think they should invest and also leverage the larger ecosystem to build those capability. Regulatory support, regulatory, both central and at the state, will have a very, very critical role in playing the success of the smart metering rollout, either through incentives, through guidance, and also keeping a positive political atmosphere for the success of the program. Last and not the least is the integrated landscape. Utilities should not look at AMI just for the purpose of automated billing, remote connect, disconnect, or net metering. They should think of an integrated landscape within IT and OT where they can derive a lot of significant value from the AMI. And with this, I pause my presentation and hand it back to Thomas.
Thank you very much for the perspective that you just provided. And let's move on now to Nabil Sari, Vice President of Business Development at Sajamcom.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you for the organizer to invite me to this webinar. So I'll try to use my 10 minutes time to share with you the experience that Sajamcom has in the 15 years plus deployment of AMI projects that we are doing worldwide, and hope that it will benefit to the audience for the future rollouts in India. So just for those who don't know us, Sajamcom, in fact, is a French group which is specialized in the connected terminals, in broadband communications, and in energy. So for the energy, we are operating in two main segments, I would say. One is the grid infrastructure, where we are deploying nanogrid, microgrid solutions. And one is on the hardware, where we are supplying smart meter solutions and IoT devices. And many analysts rank us as #1 today supplier of both electricity and gas metering in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Next slide, please. So we are a vertical integrated group. So it means that we own our R&D and also the manufacturing. So our resources are spread all over the world to make sure we are as close as possible to our customers. And the company is roughly 5,000 staff. The whole staff is 5,000 people, and you can see that 1,500 is R&D, are engineers, who are working on the products. We have also our manufacturing. So we do manufacturing, I would say, in 3 different time zones to address our different customers in Americas, Asia, and Europe and Middle East. So the capacity of production is big, so 40 million plus products per year. And this is key actually in AMI projects, where, as you know, it's a massive deployments most of the time, because it's most of the time national projects, and you need to cope with the deliveries and to make sure that you have good logistics. So in India, we are already establishing our capabilities. We have R&D team stationed in Jaipur, and we are now in the process of setting up our industrial setup. Next one, please. So a few numbers. So as I said, we are working in the smart metering since the initial stage in 15 years ago. We have more than 65 million already deployed. Most of them are smart meters, but we are also present on the whole value chain, from the meters to the head-end system and MDMS. So we have our own solutions. And we are also managing part of these meters. 20 million of them are managed through our own systems. One thing which is key about us is that we believe only on the standard technologies. So we are using mainly the technologies which are not single vendor, because we believe that this could stop the market actually. So we need to make sure that the standards are future-proof as well. So you can see a list here of communication and protocols which are related to the smart metering. And of course, you see also some of the customers we have in different regions in Europe with Enedis and Elevio, Fluvius, and so on. And in Asia, we are working now in Malaysia and Indonesia and India, of course, with some customers to deploy these solutions. Next one, please. So the key learnings I want to share with you, it's a bit related to what was said previously, but by our previous speakers. I would just highlight 1 or 2 key points. So we have been working with several utilities, maybe more than 40, all in different regions. And these learnings actually are not coming from us. They're coming from the experience we had with them and how the challenges they faced and how they managed to solve them. So I think India is already advanced in the AMI deployment process. So the learning from other projects, I think, has been already done, because there was a lot of visits we saw, for example, in France from Indian delegations. As you know, in Europe, we have already 50% now meters are already smart. So there's a lot of learnings and a lot of expertise to get from what already is already done. The next point is to plan on the long term, in fact, and not look only to because the meter asset is going to last for 20 years lifetime. So maybe the initial need will be to manage the revenue collection, but for sure, it was mentioned earlier, you will need also to monitor your renewable integration, to do also some service to your end customer. And it's good to plan the project and think of the different use cases which will come later. I need to insist again on standards interoperability. This is key because, again, the standards will help to ensure that your solution will be maintained. There will be a group of companies implementing it. There's also component suppliers which will be there for a long time. So it helps actually to maintain the solution over time and also to take advantage of the new features which can develop on top of the existing standards. Then the planning is very important also. You need to, we feel that initial projects we worked on, most of them had some difficulties because the customers wanted to go straight ahead with the big deployments. So I think planning to start small, test the technology, because maybe what you saw in Europe will not apply directly to your network. So this is key also to plan and to test the technology before going for the massive rollout. And also the scalability is also important. So because, you know, you are switching your organization from, I would say, staff who is used to do, I would say, local reading of the meters into an IT company, basically. And you are building also a telecommunication infrastructure on top of your electrical network. So most of the job functions will start to change to these new, I would say, new activities. So this also can be scaled up step by step during this piloting phase and grow up. And then I think I will go quickly to the end. So you need also to engage with the customer. It was already said, and the logistics is key because, as it was mentioned, EDF was deploying in the highest peak between 40 to 50,000 meters a day. So you need to have also logistics to absorb this flow of meters, and also having your installers ready to install them. So this is also a very important point. The next one, please. So I just give you word from as we are a vendor. So from a vendor perspective, the smart meter is an asset, as I said, which will last for 20 years. So in Sajamcom, we are integrating the different ideas or the different use cases we see all over the world with different customers into a platform which can deliver different services depending on the needs of the DSO. So you can see that it's we call it a Swiss knife actually, because you have of course the capabilities in terms of meters or energy readings, but then you have also all the options to use different communication protocol to communicate to the one, but also ways to communicate in the HAN or the home area network, maybe to some in-home device or some other meter devices. And again, I insist on the standard. So the standard, so India has already, I think, a full set of standards, which is defining the data model. But I would like to insist on the interoperability, because you need also, or the DSO needs also to ensure that the communication profile is also in the standards and can be used by different meter vendors to connect with the head-end system. Then, of course, you have to put this into a meter which is tailored to the local needs. So I'm showing here the meter we do for India and the one which is in France. So they are maybe different in look and shape, but the components inside, the reliability and the quality is exactly the same. Next one, please. So I'd like also, as we are in the forefront, I would say, development of new technologies at Sajamcom, I would like also to speak about the innovation that we can bring. So as you know, in previous or in the existing deployments, a lot of DSOs have tried to use several technologies to address the different challenges of one single technology. So a mix, for example, between power line communication, radio frequency, and cellular. So this can work, but it needs a lot of planning. It needs also to work with multiple, maybe hidden system, multiple solutions. So we thought about and we engineered a new solution, which is actually an extension of an existing technology born in France, which is a standard of G3 PLC, which is underlying the deployment of the Linke project in France, to add on top of it RF capabilities. And so the same technology now is able to switch automatically between the two communications. So if we go to the next slide to show the merits of this technology, is either you are already, in fact, having already a PLC deployment and you want to bridge some of the gaps due to the PLC, so the network can automatically use the RF communication, or you want to connect clusters of meters which are using PLC in some area to some other areas, and this is also can be enabled by this technology. So the main merit is that you have a single system which is addressing all cases and also enhancing, in fact, the reading performance of the global solution. The next one, please. So this is just to show that we are already, in fact, testing this solution in India with some private utilities, and we are putting some pilots on the ground to show if it can match, I would say, the Indian needs or the Indian networks. So we have very good results up to now, and we would like, in fact, to interact more and more with the DSO to understand their needs to implement such technology. I think this ends my speech. I'll leave it to the organizers.
Thanks a lot, Nabil, for this perspective on Sajamcom's experience and also looking forward. we'll now take a few questions. So in fact, some questions you already raised in the chat, and please keep doing so. Maybe I will start with one that I will address to Mr. Hawal and also Mr. Mishra of EDF regarding the the view of the pre-post smart metering deployment in terms of the non-technical losses in Bihar so far. So I think you commented a little bit on that. But there was a question or two. See if you can give a brief perspective on what you could see.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Was the non-technical losses before and after the beginning of the smart metering deployment in Bihar?
Well, non-technical losses, so if I understood correctly, I gave an example of arrear management. So this was related to the financial books of the DISCOM, wherein there were certain consumers who were not able to pay their bills on time, and there were certain cases, I would say, wherein the consumers were not willing to pay, and their bills were piling up on a regular basis and year-on-year basis. Either DISCOM was writing them off, or they were terming it as financial losses. So this particular solution also helped in managing those arrears or repayments by dividing these payments or high or huge bills in on a monthly basis that they need to pay certain amount to be able to use the electricity. So this way we are able to manage the financial or non-technical losses for DISCOM in a way.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So just to add to the point, because number of meters being installed in Bihar is about 150,000 as of now, right? And they are gradually increasing. So what number we have in smart meter areas would not be a benchmark for the complete Bihar, first thing. Second thing, smart metered areas are having 100% efficiency because these are prepaid meters, right? If you don't pay, your power is disabled after certain notice. So what was there before smart metering is a known factor across Bihar or say other areas of the country. As a country, we have losses of about 30%, and about 50% of 30%, maybe 15-16% is on account of non-technical losses, right? So while these losses obviously go to zero when you have the smart prepaid meters, but then as I said, this is only limited to the areas where the meters have been installed. And obviously that's the USP of the smart metering program. Even in postpaid meters, the collection efficiency has been touching about 100%. Right. So that's the game changer aspect of the smart metering program. Wherever you install, whatever was earlier could be lifted significantly to the either 100 or near 100 kind of number percentages. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There are many questions. There was a question maybe regarding interoperability, and maybe Amit, you may want to take it, and then Nabil also to comment on where in the architecture the interoperability needs to exist and standardization to exist.
Yes, you see, one is in terms of the communication protocol. If somebody is, if the communication is based on RF, and like in India, there were few RF-based communications. So we can, different meter manufacturers can integrate their meter to the different RFs present. Or if it is, sorry, the RF will be the same. Different meter manufacturers can integrate that with the same RF. Or if it is 4G/2G, different manufacturers can always integrate that. Then when it comes to HES also, I think all the meter manufacturers in the country have the capability to integrate with Discom HES which they are following, like if it is Schneider in Bihar, Schneider meters have also integrated. Other manufacturers who are supplying there have also integrated. Then there are other HES manufacturers like Trilliant and all. All meter manufacturers have the capability to integrate that with their hidden system. So the interoperability is very much there, and it is all the meter manufacturers in India are capable of doing that.
Okay, thank you. Nabil, do you want to?
Yes, I will just add on Amit's comment. I think we agree. It's mainly so there are two layers. In fact, if you are using the head-end system to interact with different meter vendors, so you need to make sure that you have the same communication profile, as I said earlier. If you are using PLC, whether PLC, RF, or cellular, so this will give you, I would say, the way to implement the physical communication, but then you need to work on to set or to test the communication profile of the different vendors to make sure there is no gap. The other one is on the data model, because data model is also, the implementation of the data model is key, as you know, because data model will be digested by the head-end system and upper system. So it needs to be also defined clearly, and the implementation should be done carefully by the vendor. So I think it's happening in India because they have, as I said, a set of standards which are ready on the data model level. What we feel is that there's still some gap maybe on the communication level again, which need to be monitored by a third party, a DSO, or maybe a third party to ensure that the interoperability is there.
Thank you. I see a question that just came up about the MDMS. So maybe that's something that Yogesh and Akshati want to address, because it's about the implementation of the MDMS and the role of EDF as a system integrator. If you can comment briefly, and then I think we'll have, for the sake of time, we'll have to move on to the next section afterwards.
To answer, we are working with Accenture, who is helping us with the MDMS, and we are working as an SI, system integrator. Yogesh, would you want to add something here?
No, I think you covered. So we work jointly as co-partner with EDF. Accenture is managing the MDMS, and then EDF brings in all the rest of the expertise.
And I think there was a question that came several times about the use of 4G as opposed to 2G, and whether that technology was 4G technology was adequate for the OPEX model and in terms of cost, generally speaking. Who wants to take this one? Akshat, do you want to address this one maybe?
Well, I'll say we are in process of testing 4G, and we have been able to successfully test it with the Schneider meters that we have received, and I'll say it depends on how far the GPRS technology providers are willing to go in the collaborative journey, because it is almost at par with what we had initially with BSNL for 3G with fallback on 2G. So OPEX model will sustain, and it will help us.
Okay, and again, please keep on raising your questions, and we'll have another section a bit later on, and maybe an opportunity to also address questions to the speakers who have spoken so far. So let's move on to the next section. So we'll now please welcome Régis Ourdouilly, who is Global Head of Portfolio and Consulting Energy and Utilities at Atos, and Gajraj Mohil, Vice President, Analytics and IT Solutions at Thales India. Régis will present the experience of Atos in capturing the value of metering data. Régis, please go ahead.
thank you, Thomas, and thanks to Think Smart Grid and the Indian Smart Grid Forum for giving me this opportunity. Yes, in this short presentation, I will give you an overview of what we do in the energy and utility industry, and in particular in smart metering. And I will cover 3 examples of projects, projects where we use meter data to produce more value for the utility and for the customers, so beyond meter to cash, some of the use cases that we have just mentioned in previous presentation. So on this page, Atos, for people who don't really know, the company is an 100,000 business technologies company. We are leaders in cloud and digital workplace, cybersecurity. We are working mainly on digital transformation and on net zero decarbonization. In India, we have 30,000, more than 30,000 people, because it's both a global delivery center for us, and we also have several national projects around, for instance, oil and gas, like fuel station, around utilities, and also for smart city for the government. On the next page, please, we have of the energy and utility ID card. We have worked with more than 200 utility clients. We go from oil and gas to water to generation, distribution, and retail of electricity and gas. What is interesting with Atos related to smart grid and smart metering is that we have our own product. Lynx, that you see mentioned here, is a SCADA DMS, and ASGS is the Atos Smart Grid Solution Platform, which actually is smart metering with next generation meter data management. And I would say we are mainly focused on IT and OT convergence. If we go to the next page, a quick better view at this. So yes, we cover the full value chain for smart metering, from consultancy, writing specification, roadmaps, and so on, to the implementation of smart grid, as I said, with our own product or integrating other company's solution, and smart services, where we have particularly big team for SAP ISU integration. The presentation today will be mostly on the triangle in the middle of the page, data analytics on top of smart metering. The name Codex for utilities is actually our grid edge solution. So it's interesting to understand that ASGS is a platform with quite central capabilities in terms of data analytics, whereas the Codex is more a distributed solution. If we go on the next page, we have several references that you see here. I'm not going to go through all of them. Of course, they are different experience from head-end system integration, meter data management, data analytics, SAP integration, mostly in Europe. I counted that if we add all the different projects, we cover about 60 million meters in terms of overall project. If we go to the next page, now is I would spend I would say 4 or 5 minutes on the 3 main project I chose to detail in this speech. The first one is for gas distribution and retail in Spain. So here, what we did was to work with with the Codex, so with distributed intelligence, to implement an algorithm that allowed to compute the fraud detection on the network. So the idea was to really improve the hit rate of field fraud detection, because the teams were having a lot of difficulties determine whether there was a fraud or not a fraud. So we really worked on the algorithm with a company to improve the hit rate, where, as it says here, KPI is 5% to 29%, which is a huge increase. It was developed in an iterative way, and it really allowed to recover and identify non-technical losses on the gas distribution network in Spain. Second example on the next page is with a small utility in France, covering only 60,000 customers, but being very innovative. So for this company, we worked with them on their SCADA and the meter solution. Here, the idea was to use meter data to improve the monitoring of a low voltage network, and also to improve the fault detection and fault location and repair, of course, of a different fault on the low voltage network. So what we did was implementing some algorithm in the central metering platform, but also writing code and I would say putting it in the data concentrator located in the secondary substations in this part of France. And thanks to that, we really have been able to, and this is an ongoing project, to identify the voltage stability, voltage swings, have a much better idea of the power quality delivered to the end customer, and also we are still testing different outage cases and recovery to see whether this provides us with a very good real-time knowledge of a low voltage network. So that was the second case I wanted to speak about. And on the last page, this is covering more use cases, I would say. Here we have one a technical approach. Enel, which is of course a very large company in Italy, saw a strong increase of the electricity and gas metering data in numbers, and they were wondering how to get all this data. I mean, data in batch, data in streaming, how to put it in a data hub, to archive it, to use the data. So we worked with Cloudera, which is also a solution that has been tested in France on other project. So we developed with them a very modern solution in cloud, completely scalable, completely global, which means that if Enel wants to use it in Latin America tomorrow, it's easy to do. Completely data-driven, everything revolves around data and the user experience. So technical benefits are the one that I just said, and the business benefits, of course, are coming gradually. Of course, you start small. There are many use cases where you can use and leverage the data you acquire from a smart meter, but you have to start small. So first, the first use case was the end customer being able to access his energy footprint data and possibly calculating the CO2 footprint after that. Second use case that has been implemented was flexible billing. Time of use, but time being able to change, to be very flexible. So it's you can really have a day-by-day change on this. And there are plenty of other use cases we're working on. One important one being the smart mobility and everything related to improving, fostering smart mobility and billing the customer. And Thomas, that's the end of my presentation.
Thanks a lot, Regis, for these different use cases and this very comprehensive presentation. So let's move on now to Thales. And so we'll have the pleasure to have Gajraj Mohil, who is Vice President of Analytics and IoT Solutions. And again, Thales is also co-sponsoring this webinar today.
Thanks, Thomas, for the quick introduction. And Gajraj Singh Mohil is my name. We have heard a lot about smart metering in the session so far. And in my presentation, I would be focusing mainly on the security element in a smart metering network and what is the need, why security is mandated by the DSOs, and what is the solution that comes pretty handy to DSOs that Thales has created. But before that, I would love to give a small introduction to Thales. And as we go on to the next slide, it's a French MNC, and our customers mainly operate in various diverse environments, I would say, from the bottom of oceans to the edge of space and cyberspace. They and we are active in 5 areas that are essential to our society to make the world go round. And these are digital identity and security. When I say digital identity and security, just for your reference, Thales is to the mobile network operators, and not only SIM cards, but even the embedded SIMs. So globally, we are serving more than 450 MNOs across the globe. We are the leading provider of, the chip-based credit cards, debit cards, and financial tools, which are EMV certified. And the entire database of 1.3 billion Indians, the Aadhaar database, is secured by Thales HSMs. Just to give you a glimpse what exactly digital identity and security. Moving next to the defense and security, Thales is the leading supplier for a couple of mission critical infrastructure to the defense forces, be it the Air Force, Army, or say the Navy. And something that comes pretty handy at this moment is Thales is behind Rafale deal in Indian government. To the Indian government, we have shipped 36 Rafale aircrafts, and Thales is providing the entire intelligence to this particular aircraft. Next one, moving forward, is aerospace. So globally, 2 out of 3 aeroplanes, they are landing on Thales air traffic control systems. We provide, in-flight entertainment systems as well. Moving forward in space, we are supporting MNOs by offering them launching a satellite to extend the terrestrial communication with the satellite communication so as to ensure a seamless connectivity for their customers. And in ground, we are supporting most of the metro providers, and in India we are the gate providers and the payment providers to most of the metro networks in India. What is really worthwhile and what really differentiates Thales from others in the market is we have got a self-funded R&D which is to the level of 1 billion euros, and in last 5 years we have invested more than 7 billion euros towards connectivity solutions, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and big data. And these are some things which comes pretty handy towards smart metering and smart grid topic that we are talking. Going forward to the next slide, in India, we are headquartered based out of Noida, and then we do have a presence in locations like Gurgaon, Nagpur, Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad. A workforce of around 1,800 employees, and we are having plans to grow it further to 3,000 in next 3 to 4 years time frame. We have got the Global Engineering Competence Center for Digital Identity and Security Solutions based out of Noida, and we do have a similar engineering center for aerospace, transportation, and defense based out of Bengaluru. Let's come to the main topic for today, which is AMI and cybersecurity. So to the next slide, please. So guys, it is pretty important for us to learn that the success of modern smart grids or modern energy grid smart metering infrastructures, AMIs, advanced metering infrastructures, depends on a persistent balance between demand and supply. And when demand outpaces supply or vice versa, system controllers, normally they are pretty quick to react with load shifting or turning of the power to the part of the infrastructure so as to avoid damage to the critical infrastructures. And what has been observed is researchers at Princeton University, they have demonstrated how the majority of grids globally could be brought down by a hack that causes just a meager 1% change in electricity demand. And this is a tempting vulnerability for malicious hackers. And without, steadfast digital security, a simple botnet attack could take command of smart home solutions. And this can result in, wasting more or less power. And these so-called, mad IoT botnet attacks can also impact a post-blackouts restart, because the attackers can stop the grid from restarting, again, by the same principle, by suddenly increasing energy demand and using the same IoT botnet format. So that being said, what is important is a strong device authentication technology is essential from the very beginning of smart meter design and manufacturing and in all edge devices. This is something which is a need of the hour, and this only ensures that the entities sending data are legitimate and the data is trustworthy. Going to the next slide. In the smart metering network, what has already been pointed out by various speakers earlier, when you look at it, to enable delivering the IoT services securely, what we need is device must be secure from production to its end of life. So credential management is essential. The keys and the encryption is generated for a smart meter right at the manufacturing stage. These keys and encryptions are stored in the HSMs and then they are injected in the smart meter at the factory itself. Later on, as and when the device is sold to a service provider and attached to its backend, what really becomes important is the provisioning. The provisioning is critical. At this stage, the integrity of the data must be secured so that all the devices can be properly authenticated prior to the installation at site. Many service providers, many DSOs, they would be sourcing devices, they would be sourcing meters from different meter providers. And then for them, it becomes, pretty important to on way to inject credentials at the factory. Some are secure, some others are less, but in any case, the service provider must own its security. And once on the field, certain maintenance operations must be carried out by by authorized users. Maintenance is something which is the need of the hour in case of any issues in the field. So what is required is we need to provide some temporary access to these maintenance guys, and then we need to ensure they should not be able to use or access the device and counterfeit it at a later stage. So that being said, the ability to manage the security lifecycle of connected devices and to automatically and remotely control these devices and their data access is critical for steadfast cybersecurity of any IoT deployment. Why it is so important? We have heard from previous speakers, the life cycle of a smart meter is up to 15 years. And as a DSO, it is the onus of the DSO to ensure the device is working free from any hack, free from any data breach in the field for 15 years. And as we know, IoT security has many challenges and pain points. And as we look across the security lifecycle by stage, as depicted in this diagram, we will see there are many aspects that needs to be carefully managed. OEMs and service providers needs to take special care as they deploy and manage these devices in the field. Many don't have this expertise, or maybe they have experience with limited expertise for managing security. To make their lives easier, we have created a centralized solution that covers all of these pain points and much more. And it is called the Thales Trusted Key Manager. That is something that is being placed at the center. As we go forward to the next slide. Before I speak about Thales Trusted Key Manager, a lot has been spoken about the famous Linky project. And what really makes me proud to confirm that Thales has been associated with NADIS right from the very beginning with the consulting on security architecture and security process definition for this advanced metering infrastructure. And even during the project execution stage, Thales ensured the cybersecurity test and validation on all provided hardware and software, the various assets that were connected in this smart metering infrastructure at NADIS. And then we did provided the critical components in the key management system. And then during the project maintenance phase, we extended the consulting services on maintenance and upgrade of security architecture, cyber security test, and validation of new hardware and software vendors. And going forward to the next slide. So what Thales Trusted Key Manager does is, first of all, it is a dedicated cybersecurity solution which is independent of smart meter or head-end system vendor security implementation. So what it extends it gives a peace of mind to the DSO that whatever they have deployed in the network, once they have got Thales Trusted Key Manager in place, they are always comfortable to grab the HES from different supplier, even the meters from other vendors, because this solution is agnostic to meter provider, it is agnostic to head-end system provider, and it is pretty comprehensive and tailor-made for smart meters because it supports different kinds of DLMS protocols, and it ensures whether it is DLMS suite 0, 1 or 2, it is future-proof for various kinds of security and protocol evolutions. And then it ensures the operational simplicity is provided to the DSO, which results in reduction in the OPEX and overall reduction in the total cost of ownership. Just to give you a quick understanding of the solution, I would like to play a small video here. Thomas, could you please help us with the video?
Our connected world does great in expanding real-time data exchange and improving business efficiency. But hackers can lurk everywhere, looking for opportunities to steal data and wreak havoc. Imagine an unseen force taking command of your connected car and pulling to the side of the road. Hackers can intercept private personal data and health information. They can even launch distributed attacks to overwhelm smart grids and leave cities in the dark and vulnerable to mayhem. For smart device manufacturers, a strong cybersecurity strategy starts at device manufacturing, where required credentials and encryption keys are created that will ensure the security of connected objects every step of their long life. The Thales Trusted Key Manager supports device manufacturers by generating credentials and diversified keys, leveraging an embedded hardware security module, or HSM. They are sent securely from the HSM to the factory for injection into manufactured devices. Once devices are deployed in the field and ready to operate, factory credentials are updated to operational ones. This is just like when you buy a new house. The existing keys are used to enter, and then the locks and keys are changed to ensure exclusive ownership of the keys and property. A cornerstone of IoT security is trusting who you are communicating with. Acting as a gatekeeper for credentials and encryption keys, the Thales Trusted Key Manager supports secure onboarding to authenticated backends and applications, ensuring that sensitive data will remain in legitimate hands. Confidentiality and data integrity are ensured by encrypting and digitally signing all messages. These advanced encryption mechanisms are made possible by using previously injected credentials. They protect data generated and sent while mitigating risk of eavesdropping and tampering at all levels of the ecosystem. As business, cyber threats, and security regulations evolve, the Trusted Key Manager supports device security lifecycle management. The platform can provision temporary credentials to permit on-site device maintenance by authorized parties. Thanks to digital signature schemes, the Thales platform secures remote software updates. It also revokes certificates at the end of life to deactivate devices. The Thales Trusted Key Manager delivers the industry's most advanced encryption tools and provides a security interface that interacts with a variety of IoT platforms through APIs. A unique platform to manage the security of large fleets of devices from various manufacturers, and access to the world-leading hardware security module. The Thales Trusted Key Manager allows you to build a hard shell around your key business assets and their data, protecting them and ensuring they deliver the full promise of the IoT.
So just to end my presentation, the final remarks are, there are 3 reasons for DSO to mandate security, and these are fraud prevention, privacy protection, and system availability. And that's something which is ensured by Thales Trusted Key Manager, because it provides firmware updates during the life cycle of smart meters in the field. and it is a future-proof solution that supports different protocol evolution as well. And that brings me to the end of my session. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gajraj. So we are now entering a new Q&A session. So please feel free to continue raising questions using the chat, particularly to our two last speakers. So maybe until you do, okay, there we are. So that would be a question for Paris. So how is the key file transfer to TechEM from the manufacturers?
Well, I think the question is about, DLMS security suite, which is 0, which is as compared to suite 1 and 2 is considered slightly weak. It is our recommendation. Our solution supports all, whether it is suite 0, 1 or 2. The recommendation would be coming from the person who is from the organization who is procuring the smart meters, basically. And they are the ones, depending on their CapEx and depending on their technical specifications, they are the ones who are going to define which one best meets their requirement. But yes, our recommendation would always be to go with the latest one. Yeah.
Maybe going back to a prior question for a minute on, and that was a question for Sajamcom about the hybrid use case and what meter was designated as the master in the mesh network that you were showing.
Sorry, Thomas, can you say the question again?
So there was a question about the hybrid use case and how so which meter was designated as the master in the RS network, or how maybe that mesh network is built.
Okay, so I try to answer if I understood. In fact, there is no really, so the master device is always the data concentrator unit. There's a data concentrator unit which manages the different nodes. But each node is, as I said, independently detecting the quality of signal and choosing the way of communicating. So it could be RF or PLC. It's not set at the, I would say, at by the system or anything. It's the solution itself detects and selects the best route. I hope this answers the question.
I think it does. Yeah, thank you. There was a general question on whether there was a unified policy and tendering process for smart meters in India. So I guess question about also standardizations progressing in India in terms of the smart meters. Maybe Amit, you want to take this one?
Yes. In India, the tenders are very transparently done for all the smart meters. ESL tenders are there, which they do and then supply to the states. Some of the states are also bringing out tenders, and it is all transparently decided and done.
Thank you. There's a question that just came up for Nabil about your recommendation for smart metering communication technology, RF or GPRS or AMS.
Okay, so in fact, we cannot give a recommendation because it depends on the DSO. Cellular communication, you are using a private network, so it's maintained by a third party, and so you don't have to, I would say, to have in-house capabilities on network management or telecommunication network management, but you outsource this part, so you pay for it. The RF or hybrid solution, as we try to present, is is more private network. So you are owning your own network. So you don't pay any, you don't have any fees or any royalties to pay to any network provider, but you need to manage your network. So you need to have also some capabilities on the telecommunication part to be able to run it. So it depends really on the size and what the utility wants to achieve.
And more so, just to add on to it, is we already have an umbrella of cellular network across the globe now. So this is something which is easily available without any upfront investment on the network. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Maybe one comment to add is also cellular network allows you to deploy in, I would say, a more flexible way, because you can you don't need to map or to plan your deployment. Whereas if you are using RF or PLC communication, it's a mesh network. So you need also to have some deployment strategy. I think EDF spoke about this earlier. You cannot just dump meters anywhere and get the read. So this also could be a factor of choice, again, depending on the strategy of the utility.
Okay. There was another specific question for Thales on the transfer of the encryption key from the device manufacturer to the Thales key manager.
Well, it is totally based on the proper handshaking between the two elements. That is the asset, which is a smart meter, and then at the back end with the Thales Trusted Key Manager. The communication is highly encrypted, and once the handshaking, a proper handshaking is in place, the communication channel is established and the transfer takes place. When the communicating communicating parties are found legitimate, then only the communication happens. Yeah.
We'll soon move to the conclusion. I think there was a question I saw earlier about the diversity of smart meter brands used so far on the Bihar project. I know the answer, but maybe Akshat, you want to take this one?
Diversity of, meters.
Smart meters brand.
Well, currently we have Schneider meters and Genus meters, so I think we have 2 meter suppliers already, and based on the demand, we'll see how things move, and accordingly we can take more meters into picture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm sure lots of questions will continue to be raised. I think we have to probably move on now to the conclusion, and before doing so, let me first deeply address my thanks to all the speakers, the distinguished guests who also provided the inauguration to this webinar. And I'm happy to now turn to Reggie Pillai, who is co-organizer of this webinar, for some conclusions.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants, and thank you, Thomas, for inviting me to do the concluding remarks and a vote of thanks. I'm really delighted to partner with Think Smart Grid for delivering this very successful workshop. Our collaboration with Think Smart Grid goes back several years. We have been bringing large delegation and expert speakers for our several programs, for ISGF programs from France. We have had close interaction or collaboration and working relationship with both NADS and EDF and Think Smart Grid. And we have conducted 3 smart grid in India, France smart grid workshops on the sidelines of our annual event, which is India Smart Utility Week. So very senior people. In fact, in 2 of the years, the CEO, the president of NADS was here personally in our program. So that's a close collaboration. Also, with our intervention for the first time, the Horizon 2020 program of European Union, outside of France, outside of EU, first time one project was given that was in India, where Tata Power Delhi distribution and Enedis jointly was the successful bidder, and that project is currently under implementation, which is about to complete. Most probably this year it will go live. So there are a lot we have done jointly in promoting this relationship between French companies and the French technologies in India in the smart grid modernization and smart grid journey. And it's just appropriate that ESL and IntelliSmart went ahead with EDF, which has the real hands-on experience of installing more than 30 million smart meters as their partner for this big program in India. And the Bihar project is a very big success. You heard our secretary himself saying that average revenue per month in each of those customers has gone up by almost 500 rupees. So I hear this question when you would have heard that in India is about to roll out 250 million smart meter on a services model. Most of the money, except a small grant from government of India, rest of the money, the utilities are going to pay on a monthly basis per meter per month over 10 years to the AMI service provider. So many utilities keep asking, oh, if we have to pay 100 rupees per meter per month, will we get that kind of a benefit? The Bihar case study is we would like to bring out a paper on that, white paper on that, with the actual numbers that will set aside everybody's doubts about will they have enough money to pay the AMI service provider. This is a very good demonstration example which we have done. So the discussion's been very informative, and in the audience I could see several senior people, utility CEOs, even some of our parliamentarians were there in the audience, and expressed the level of interest which this workshop has generated, and also the discussion, the presentations and the discussions were very informative, and which is evident from the Q&A, the questions which came on the chat box. And I thank all the participants. Let me start with first the audience staying with us for 2 hours, more than 2 hours, and there are people from around the world, from Asia, from Africa, from Europe, from North America. I see participants, and I thank all of them for being part of this. And let me come thank His Excellency Ambassador of France in India, Emmanuel Lian, and our Secretary Sri Alok Kumar for jointly inaugurating this workshop. And all come to Olivier Krabi, Vice President of Think Smart Grid, for his welcome address. And to you, biggest thanks to you, Thomas, for conducting this program so efficiently, so well structured discussions. Thank you very much. And to the speakers, each of the experts from starting with Akshat Misra from EDF, Korail Rafnak, Anil Raval, Amit Kumar, Yogesh Donde, Nabil Sahri, Regis Horduville from Atos, and Gajaraj Singh Mohil from Tails. All experts have made very important presentations which were very, very informative, particularly in the context of our smart metering program. And we look forward to have an active role, all these companies and more French companies going to play here in the smart metering program. We will also plan another workshop soon. I would like to have some more of more discussions on cybersecurity and also on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I know about several companies, including EDF Research, and also some startups from France who have come out with world-class solutions on AI and ML for the utilities. So thank everyone once again, and look forward to seeing you all soon physically for workshops in the near future. Stay safe. God bless. See you all. Bye.
Thank you, Raji, and stay safe all.